Jai Gurudev children, today we are going to start first chapter of Unit 7. I keep my tryst with Everest. I refers to Bachendri Paul. Tryst means meeting. I keep my tryst with Everest means in this chapter Bachendri Paul shares her experience of how she reached the top of Everest. So let's start. I got up at 4 in the morning, melted snow and brewed tea. After a light breakfast of a few biscuits and half a slab of chocolate, I left my tent at around 5:30 am. Ang Dorji was standing outside. No one else was about. Ang Dorji was going to climb without oxygen, but because of this his feet would get very cold. He thus wanted to avoid long exposure at heights and a night at the summit camp. He had therefore to either get to the peak and back to the South Col the same day or abandon the attempt. He was keen to start immediately and asked if I would like to go with him. Going to the top from the South Col and back in a day would be strenuous and tough, and there was a risk of Ang Dorji turning back if his feet got too cold. I, however, had full confidence in Ang Dorji as well as in my stamina and climbing capability. Besides, no one else was ready to move at that time. Now let me explain what is there in these paragraphs. Bachendri Paul shares her experience saying that she got up early morning, had a little breakfast and left for trekking at around 5:30 am. Ang Dorji, her companion, was standing outside. Children, as we know, there is lack of oxygen at high altitudes. One needs to carry oxygen along, but Ang Dorji was going without oxygen. It was going to be bit precarious, bit risky. They had no choice but to reach the peak at the earliest and return to South Col the same day. Bachendri Paul had full confidence in Ang Dorji and her climbing capability. Now, next paragraph. At 6:20, when Ang Dorji and I stepped out from the South Col, it was a perfect day. There was a gentle breeze, but the cold was intense. I was, however, warm in my well-insulated climbing gear. We climbed unroped. Ang Dorji set a steady pace, but I had no difficulty keeping up with him. The steep frozen slopes were as hard and brittle as sheets of glass. We had to use the ice axe and had to kick really hard to get the front teeth of the crampons to bite into the frozen surface. I took every step very deliberately on the various stretches. In less than 2 hours, we reached the summit camp. Ang Dorji looked back and asked if I was tired. I replied no, to his surprise and delight. He told me that the earlier summit party had taken 4 hours to reach the summit camp and added that if we could keep our present pace, we could be on the summit by 1 p.m. Now let me explain. They were going to climb unroped. The day was perfect. A gentle breeze was blowing. It was chill. They both were well insulated with protective gears. The mountain slopes were as brittle as a sheet of glass. It was hard to climb up on such frozen surface. Their crampon shoes helped them to bite into the icy surface. In less than 2 hours, they reached the summit camp, while the party which attempted the climb before them took 4 hours. Next, Lehtu was following us and caught up with us when We rested below the summit. South summit. After drinking some tea, we moved on. Letu had brought a nylon rope, so Ang Dorji and I roped up, while Letu walked in the middle, holding the rope with one hand, more for balance than security. Letu noticed that I had been climbing with oxygen at about 2.5 liters per minute, against the normal 4 for these heights. After he increased the oxygen flow on my regulator, I found even the steeper stretches comparatively easy. Beyond the south summit, the breeze increased. At that height, the eddies of strong winds whipped up the powdered snow, reducing visibility to nil. On many occasions, I had to get into a crouching position with my back to the onslaught of the icy wind saturated with fine particles of bone-dry powder snow. Now Letu was also following them. He brought rope which was used for balance more than security. Letu increased the flow of oxygen for Bachendri Paul on her regulator. Suddenly, strong icy wind started lashing them. It brought down the visibility to nil. They crouched to prevent the whips of the snowy powder flurrying around. It was terrifying to stand erect on a knife-edge ridge, with a sheer drop on either side. I had to dig my ice axe deep and secure myself by attaching the waist strap to the ice axe head. There was some tricky climbing between the south summit and what is popularly known as Hillary Step. Ang Dorji and Letu were already over it, but I was still negotiating its vertical phase when Ang Dorji gesticulated towards the top. I was thrilled. The goal was near. With renewed vigor, I was on top of the step in seconds. The sun had made the snow soft and climbing was easier here than it had been earlier. We trudged in the heavy powders now for some time. Then the gradient started easing off noticeably. A few steps later, I saw that after only a couple of meters, there was no upward climb. The slope plunged steeply down. My heart stood still. It dawned on me that success was within reach, and at 1:07 p.m. on 23rd May 1984, I stood on top of Everest, the first Indian woman to have done so. Homage to Sagarmatha. On the summit, there was hardly enough place for two to stand side by side on top of the Everest cone. Thousands of meters of near vertical drop on all sides made safety our foremost consideration, and we first anchored ourselves securely by digging our ice axes into the snow. That done, I sank on my knees and putting my forehead on the snow, kissed Sagarmatha's crown. Without getting up, I took out the image of Durga Ma and my Hanuman Chalisa from my rucksack. I wrapped this in a red cloth which I had brought, and after saying a short prayer, buried them in the snow. At this moment of joy, my thoughts went to my father and mother. She says the slope had razor-like edge, and the climbing between the south summit and Hillary Step was quite tricky. They braved up every challenge, and after a while, the sun gleamed and softened the snow, which now they could easily trudge upon. They were now very close to their goal. They could see the top of the Everest now, and by 1:07 p.m. they had tryst with Everest. So, 23rd May 1984, Bachendri Paul became the first Indian woman to climb Everest. She was so thrilled. Her dream turned to be a reality. She said short prayer remembering her Hindu deities along with her parents. Now next, As I rose, I folded my hands and bowed in respect to Ang Dorji, my rope leader, who had encouraged and led me to my goal. I also congratulated him for his second ascent of Everest without oxygen. He embraced me and whispered in my ear, "You climbed good. Very happy, did." A little later, Sonam Pulsar arrived and began taking photographs. By then passed on to me. Col Kuller was delighted with our success. After congratulating me, he said, "I would also like to congratulate your parents for your unique achievement." He added that the country was proud of me and that I would return to a world which would be quite different from the one I had left behind. We summiteers embraced and thumped one after one another's back. Nepalese, Indian, and for my sake, the NAF Seven Sisters and TISCO disco flags were hoisted and photographed. We spent 43 minutes on the summit. The towering giants Lotes, Naptese, and Makalu were dwarfed by our mountain. I collected a few samples of stone from a bare patch near the peak. With Ang Dorji and Letu on southeast ridge, we started our downhill journey at 1:55 p.m. I knew I would have to be especially careful during the return trip, for more accidents occurring on descending than when climbing up. But I was unaware of one fundamental hazard. I took off my snow goggles on the snowless and dark rocky patches, assuming that snow blindness was only caused by the glare of the sun rays reflected from the snow, and besides, the atmosphere was hazy. Snow blindness, however, is due to a strong ultraviolet rays at high altitudes and has nothing to do with the snow or the glare. I paid a very heavy price for my ignorance. Both my eyes were affected and I suffered intense pain. On our return to the camp, I had to take a sleeping pill, the only one I had during my stay on Everest. Though Ang Dorji moved fast, I found I was reasonably sure-footed in downhill climbing, even at the veteran Sherpa's pace. When we were still some distance from the South Col, to my astonishment, I saw Magan Bisa coming up. It was raverious to be on the exposed southeast ridge in the evening when the temperature dropped sharply. Besides the usual raveriers of height and environment, Bisa's rucksack was filled with oxygen cylinders and thermos flasks. He congratulated us and gave us some hot drinks and juice. There he went up to help Letu and Pulsar and gave them hot drinks. Pulsar had no oxygen mask, so Bisa gave him his own. Letu reached the South Col at 6 p.m., while Bisa brought Pulsar to safety on his rope at 7 p.m. Ang Dorji and I arrived at the South Col at 5 p.m. Everyone complimented us for doing the South Col summit South Col trip in only 10 hours 40 minutes, including the halt at the top. As I was entering my tent, I overheard Major K. Kumar talking to Colonel Kuller on the wireless. "Believe it or not, sir," he said excitedly, "Bachendra is already back in just 3 hours, and she looks as fresh as she was when she started climbing up this morning." Now explanation. A little later, Sonam Pulsar arrived and took photographs. Colonel Kuller congratulated her on walkie-talkie. The world was now different for Bachendri Paul. However, they spent 43 minutes on the summit. Now, on the downhill journey, she was unaware of some fundamental hazard. The ultraviolet rays reflecting on the snowy surface caused snow blindness. She took off her glasses and gone through intense pain in her eyes. In down camp, she was given a sleeping pill. In the evening, when the temperature dropped down, Bisa approached them and congratulated for success. He gave hot drinks and juice to everyone. and especially Pulsar his own mask as he didn't have that. But Chandripal arrived at 5 p.m. with Ang Dorji, and when she entered the tent, she overheard Major Kumar praising her to Colonel Kuller for her remarkable achievement.